has redefined the art of caramel making. Slow crafted, all natural, and preservative free with uncompromising standards. Cooked gently in small batches to create velvety textures and layers of flavor like no other caramel you've ever experienced. It is our sincere hope that you enjoy each Seuss caramel as much as we enjoy making it for you. I'm Tammy Fahey, and I never tire of hearing how much people enjoy my caramels. Please visit SeussCaramel.com to place your order and to see a listing of stores that carry our amazing caramels.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Hello, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages as we celebrate everyday people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, from kindness to healthy habits and simple happiness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And I want to start with a question. How are you doing in this time of great turmoil in our country? There is so much fear and uncertainty pervading our world at a time when we're supposed to be celebrating peace on earth. So many are deathly afraid of the virus. Wear a mask, not to wear a mask. Others are equally afraid of the vaccine and what it may do to our bodies. Then there are those who are in shock and afraid of the massive corruption being disclosed about people we thought we could trust. Many are concerned at what the average person can do about the political mess we're watching and the cyber warfare we find ourselves embroiled in, which may soon lead to physical war. These past several years, I've dedicated my life to sharing information that was given to me from a series of channeled sessions with amazing wise guides. They called themselves the Collective and implored me to get the message to people quickly, as they had deep concerns that humanity did not realize how little time we have left. Many of these guides, including Jesus, told me that the earth is at a tipping point, and we must do something now, or the world we know it will disappear. After 2 years of receiving the information, I worked diligently to publish 2 books, one a year. My intent was to share their messages to help save humanity from imminent destruction. I naively thought the time frame they were talking about was maybe 25 or 100 years in the future. Now I realize the destruction they were speaking of is happening right now, today. The war between good and evil is raging all around us if we would only open ourselves to see the truth of what is really going on before our very eyes. My own background involves spiritual-based hypnosis sessions where clients connect with loved ones, guides, and angels, only after they have cleared any negative energy. For over 30 years, I have battled the dark side, clearing individuals, their families, and homes of draining energies that interfered with their lives. I've done this work privately and have only recently started talking about it through the books I was asked to write, starting with The Spirits of Amoskeag, The Wounded Heroes of the Manchester Mills, followed by the Chronicles of Hope series. In reality, These books provide information to teach others how to recognize the influence of negative energy and learn ways to keep their energy clear, strong, and protected. I've been asked time and again by my guides to teach others how to clear the negative around themselves and give them ways to keep their energy positive, uplifted, and inspired. This was actually the intention of this radio show that I started almost a year ago, to offer a good news show that inspires hope for people when the media paints everything so dour, fear-based, and negative. I'm also truly blessed to be surrounded and supported by a team of amazing people who are able to delve into the shadow with me. These dedicated spiritual friends and associates are able to see the energy in and around people. Together, we work with the angelic realm to clear the darkness and bring in the light. I call them my A-team, my angel team. Over these past months, our team has expanded our vision to see what is going on a broader scale. We're able to look at the energy surrounding individuals, groups, communities, states, countries, and even the world. I must tell you that right now, the battle of good versus evil is raging strongly. Our team clearly sees the darkness pervading those driven by evil and power, with the intention of pitting one person against another, and the end game of controlling the world through fear, anger, isolation, and division. We absolutely see this is the battle that our powerful guides in the Chronicles of Hope book series spoke of so often. The battle of love versus hate, peace versus anger, compassion versus greed, freedom versus control. When I first experienced the channeled sessions with these wise ones in 2017, they imparted a definite sense of urgency, which drove me to publish the books as quickly as possible. However, I now know that the urgency refers to what is happening now. The tipping point of humanity referred to by the Unquietus, the God Ray, Jesus, Aurora, and others is upon us right now. Many are aware that we are indeed mired in the war of good versus evil, and most of us feel helpless as to what to do about it, except sit back and watch the evil that has taken over our world be exposed. There are many on this planet who are completely blind as to what is going on around us. Those who have listened to the toxic media without questioning, they're hypnotized into believing false narratives that will someday come back to haunt them. They're oblivious as to what is truly going on and will soon find themselves in a state of shock with the reality. The situation we are in is like an insidious cancer that people have ignored, just hoping it'll go away. They say, it doesn't affect me. I won't look at that. This cancer has metastasized to all of our systems: political, judicial, financial, medical, educational, spiritual, technological, environmental, societal, familial, and so much more. This invasive disease will destroy our way of life if we do not wake up and take a good look at what is going on around us. People need to use the power of their own minds to investigate for themselves and learn what is really going on. And there are many who have woken up to what is going on and are dedicated to humanity, to what is honest, right, and true, yet feel hopeless and helpless as to what they can do. Many who are attempting to communicate find their voices censored, blocked, and drowned out by the dark side. We watch the corruption pervading, invading, and tearing apart our society. To these people, we say, hold on to the light of hope and do what you can for justice. If nothing else, we can pray. We can send good energy and the light of truth to those who have the courage and the power to step up. Over the past months, our angel team has expanded to form a larger 5D Lightworker Alliance. We've been meeting regularly and clearly see beyond the veil of illusion. We are doing what we can to shift the darkness, to shine the light of truth for all to see, and inspire others by planting seeds of hope for humanity. We fully see the battle of light and dark infecting humanity, and we know beyond a shadow of a doubt what is going on in this drama that is playing out before our eyes. We hold strong in our work to shine the light of truth on the shadow that I've been speaking about for months now. We know in our hearts that the light of truth will win. Our angelic guides are ever with us for support and want us to trust them and the process. We're impressed by a small renegade bunch of people who are doing their best to fight the system and save our country and the world. Recently, I started writing the sessions for the Chronicles of Hope Book 3 and found the insights shared by the wise ones to be so incredibly timely and critical that I must share them with you now. This information is too important to wait for another book. So, today, I will read the first session to you and post it as a blog on the chroniclesofhope.net website for all to read. In this session, the gentle Archangel Azrael specifically references the political situation we are currently experiencing in 2020. What I have come to realize over the recent events in history is that these messages given by the wise ones in the Chronicles of Hope are much more timely than I have ever expected. For the listeners, you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. And today, I'm going to share with you an interview that I had 3 years ago with the Archangel Azrael. It was winter solstice 2017 when Gary, Paul, and I gathered for another channeling session. On this special day, we were excited to see who might join us and what they would share. Since Paul and I regularly work with Archangel Michael in the clearing sessions we do, we felt it would be wonderful to speak directly with him if he wasn't too busy. Or maybe he'd send another archangel to give us advice and instructions. Our intention was to clarify some of the earlier statements made by the wise ones in the sessions that have been outlined in the Chronicles of Hope book series. We were looking to gain insight on some of the more unusual occurrences we had recently experienced. We continued to wonder why we were chosen for this mission of delivering hope to humanity, and what was our specific role. We were curious who might visit with us today, and what insight they might wish to share. I gently guide Gary into a peaceful trance state, a place of receptivity, a space of openness, for one of the wise ones of the collective to join us and share with us. We invite whoever wishes to give us guidance to come today. We are open to receive their guidance on this special celestial day. As Gary becomes noticeably relaxed, it is interesting to note the time is 4:44, a sign that angels are near. As Gary's eyes open and looks around the room, and he fidgets in his seat, and I say, "Hello, are you comfortable?" "Not particularly," in a very soft-spoken, very kind and gentle voice. "How may I help you?" I ask as I shift the ottoman to allow this one to be more comfortable. "Thank you." "You are Lois." He turns to look at Paul. "You are Paul." I smile and nod and say, "Yes, and who are you? Who do we have the privilege of speaking with today?" The first humans to name me were the ancient Hebrew. I am Azrael, Archangel. I am also Azrael, the angel of death. You wanted to speak to an archangel. Yes. What would you like to know? Of note, throughout the session, Azrael sits very upright, looking directly at Paul and I, fully engaged in the casual conversation. He gently moves his hands in a variety of expressive ways as he speaks. His demeanor is very calm, peaceful, and comfortable. And I answer, "Oh my goodness, so much. Archangel Michael works with us frequently. We call him by that name. Yet there are other archangels who appear as Michael in response to us. Is that true? Is Archangel Michael just a name that humans have given to any archangel who comes to help?" All of the names by which you refer to me and my kin are given to us by humans. Our means of identifying ourselves to each other is not something that I could explain. So do you each have a different function or purpose? We are all one, even as we are all individual. You might say we are interchangeable. Yet, we each have our preferred function, things that we enjoy doing. Although we certainly are capable of doing anything, my particular task is Angel of Death. My job is to help spirits that have become trapped in the physical form to escape. So you've actually been helping Paul and May quite a bit then, haven't you? He replies, "Most of the spirits that you are dealing with are spirits that have already detached from their physical bodies, even if they have not detached from the physical plane. I certainly have been here to help you from time to time, but specifically, I help spirits that are actually physically trapped. For some reason, the connection between the spirit and the body does not dissolve, and that keeps the body alive beyond the point at which it should be. I come in and release the spirit." Oh, are you talking about people who have diseases like Alzheimer's, where their mind is no longer aware, yet their body is still functioning? He says, "No, that's a different case. This is a case where the body tries to die and cannot because the spirit does not release. Sometimes that is the spirit's desire to remain. Sometimes that is the body's desire to remain. But at some point, an individual's death is not predetermined. It happens when it occurs. If for some reason that process is interrupted, that is where I step in and perform a separation." Oh, okay, that's amazing. I think I understand. You're like a hospice angel. You probably helped my cousin a short time ago. She was very sick and had been on the verge of death for a long time, yet was reluctant to leave because of her teenage children. Her body had suffered greatly with chronic disease, and she was having a hard time leaving her precious children. I was there and prayed with her and invited family members to help her into the light. Early the next morning, she departed. Yes, that is the most common desire to stay, is to remain with loved ones. Okay, that makes perfect sense. I've also seen many spirits who have left their physical bodies, however, are still hanging around their loved ones in spirit, unable to leave. But there is a time for all things. Yes, there is. Paul and I work to send lots of spirits into what we call the light. Sometimes when the spirits are released, the archangels seem to take them to a different place. Is this just our imagination, or are there different levels or different places that people go for various types of healing? It is difficult to answer in terms that you will easily understand. You do understand that there are different energy levels that divide the dimensions, and depending on the energy level of the spirit, they may have a different ultimate destination. I'll use an analogy to the ancient Greek mythology. All souls that die go to the underworld, but there is the Elysium fields for souls who are good, and there are places for souls who are not. That isn't always what's happening here. If one of my brethren takes a spirit to what appears to you to be a different place, it's just a manifestation to you. The light to which you refer is simply the mind's interpretation of something it cannot understand. There is For most humans who have never practiced the spiritual work that you do, they have no comprehension of what's beyond. Their mind represents them a light because they cannot understand what they truly see. And because for most of their lives they have been told about this light, so they see what they expect to see. To some degree, each spirit creates its own afterlife. You experience more or less what you expect to experience for the first period of time after you leave the body. Eventually, as you come to clear yourself of the experiences of the physical existence, when you have kept the parts of the mental and emotional body that you choose to retain and incorporate into your spirit, and you have now completely detached from the physical body. That process takes some time, depending on the individual. Then you see with true eyes. Then you truly see the universe as it is, and the light ceases to be just a bright light. It is your life in between. The amount of time you stay there is entirely up to you. When you are ready, if you are ready, you come back to the same form, to a different form, to a different place. I ask, is it the spirit's personal decision as to the experiences they want to have? Ultimately, it is the spirit's decision. However, older and wiser souls will make recommendations, will make requests. But ultimately, it's always the individual spirit's decision when they are in the position of making that decision. There are some spirits that are damaged during their corporeal existence. They have less choice. It is possible that they will drop in level to the point that they cannot incorporate into physical form. The amount of time it takes to heal depends on the spirit and the reason for the damage. Thank you for that insight. We have questions about those of you, the archangels, who've been around since before the earth was formed. We hear stories of ancient aliens coming to help humans. My question is, was that in fact you, the archangels, who came to help humanity at different times in their existence? He says, in some cases, we have imparted some knowledge. In some cases, we have imparted, wisdom is not the right word, motivation. What you refer to as primitive man was not so primitive as you think. It boosts a human's ego to think of their ancestor as somehow being less than they are now. In some ways they were, in many ways they were not. It really is individual. Most spirits, when they return, if they choose to return to the same place, are more advanced, simply because they have more experience. However, my kin have told you how a human form is assembled. Most of what makes you an individual is created from birth, and it is only the spirit that carries through from life to life. It is possible that circumstances for an individual life are such that the spirit becomes handicapped. It does not or cannot live up to the potential that it possibly had in a previous incarnation because of the experiences that occur during the developmental years of that particular life. If the environment of the world produces more struggle for the individuals as they grow, it is possible that, as a group, each individual has a greater difficulty in achieving their full potential. And if, as a group, that begins to happen, then civilization as a whole is less than the previous generation. It is difficult to define what less means. It's just that if a large enough group of individuals fails to live up to the potential they could have, or fails to live up to the potential that they have had, then the energy level as a whole diminishes, and that can become a spiraling effect. If the energy level is such that individuals are not living up to their potential, and the energy level decreases, then the next generation has both to overcome, and they drop down to lower levels, and so it goes. That is a very difficult cycle to break. I ask, is that what's happening with humanity now? Azrael says. That is what we see, yes. There is an apparent lack of desire to improve things. There are some individuals, such as the work you do, trying to make a difference. But it's like trying to hold back the ocean with a sponge. At some point, the only way to move up is to bounce off the bottom. Where that bottom is not predictable. What effect that bounce will have is almost certainly an unpleasant experience. Imagine what it must feel like for a ball to hit the wall. We see that happening to civilization on Earth. It is not so much a danger to humanity itself as it is to civilization itself. I know that humans still have a lot of tribalism in them, and you view different places on Earth as having different civilizations. From our perspective, Earth has only one civilization. It has subgroups. But humanity is one group of people. I think that because humanity views itself as being alone in the universe, they think of themselves as being fractured into groups. If they were to discover that they are not alone, it might bring them together as one group. I know that my brethren have said as much before. I ask. I think a lot of humans believe there is other life. Some even see evidence such as spaceships. There are a lot of people who truly believe in what are called extraterrestrials or aliens. And yet your brethren have said that there is no possible way for beings from other galaxies to actually come here in physical form. So what is it that people are seeing? Very, very few civilizations in the universe have progressed technologically to the point that they could make the journey between the stars. Those few that have such are still so far from here, and their technology is still insufficient to reach here. Interstellar travel is possible, but intergalactic travel has never happened in physical form. It is possible for a race to develop itself internally, as opposed to external technological trappings, to a point that they can do what we, who have no physical form, do naturally. In lots of ways, having physical form is a handicap. It limits what your spirit is capable of doing. You are limited further by the environment in which you grow up. You are taught as children that some things simply are not. And if you hear that often enough, you'll believe it, whether or not it is actually true. There are some cultures on Earth that are not more open-minded, but less closed-minded. The more you think you know, the less likely you are to be able to learn. When you understand how little you know, you are willing to accept new information. A large portion of humanity has reached the point where they think they know everything there is to know, or at least everything of any importance. That couldn't possibly be more false. It is necessary to expand people's minds. Providing them with simple facts will not do that. If you simply say, "Here is the answer to this question," that will not open them to experience. In fact, it could close them down saying, "Oh, well, now we know everything." But in fact, every answer you have should open you to more questions. We understand the work that you do. It would be beneficial in your work to pose questions, to stimulate people's thought, rather than just providing them with a lot of answers to questions. They perhaps have no vested interest in knowing the answers. These are people who have fixed dogma about their beliefs. Challenging those beliefs will not accomplish anything for you. It is necessary to get the people to question their own beliefs, to then seek answers, and then later give them the mechanism to find those answers. Continue your work. Your work will never stop. You are not writing a book. You will be on this path for the rest of your life here. We did not choose you, but when you presented yourself, we realized that you were ideally suited for the task. We took advantage of that to provide you with the information you need and to give you the help and guidance that you need. There are some questions, of course, we cannot answer because you are not ready for the answers. We are sorry for this, but every life has its limitations. I understand. We will help you all you need, but in truth there is very little help that you do need. You have wisdom to accomplish your goal. We can give you help. We can answer your questions, but it is ultimately your task. It is your path to walk. There are other humans who realize the danger that civilization faces, and many of them are doing similar things. Many of them are trying in their own way to turn the spiral around. You are the only ones who have our assistance. Even if it was possible for us to have this type of communication with others, we would not. We believe that each group trying to help the world should take its own path. If they all take the same path, the likelihood of failure is much greater. If they all take a different path, the likelihood is that one will succeed. It is important to let people move in their own way, so we help you. Thank you. That answers much. One of the challenges we have is knowing what the best questions are to ask for the benefit of everyone. We have simple questions like, what are crop circles? There are so many of these smaller questions that are curiosities that we would love to have answers to, and yet do they truly serve the betterment of the people? Azrael replies, that would depend on the questions. And if you're waiting for me to tell you which questions, I'm sorry, I cannot. I laugh. I know. We have to ask the questions. I have more questions about archangels. There are many of you, yes? Remember that archangel is a term that was applied to us by humans, much as our individual names have been given to us. We are, any one of us, capable of being what you think of as an archangel. It is associated with the level at which we exist, much as our children are being born as prophets because they are capable of taking physical form. Jesus was one of their children. I asked, some ancient hieroglyphic drawings depict beings that came down from heavens to help. Would those images be of your children who would have actually incorporated? Our children or us. When one of our children incorporates in any life, including human, in general, they do not know that their spirits are different than any spirit that might motivate a particular individual. It wasn't until working began with you, Lois, that Gary realized his spirit was actually one of our children. There are several reasons why this happens. Mostly, the spirit doesn't remember much of its previous existences because it may lose a vested interest in its current existence. There are people who develop to the point that they do go back and learn of previous existences. If you're willing to put in the effort that it takes to do that, then you are mature enough to not lose your interest in this world. So that is the most common form of existence. Our children's spirits can appear not within real physical bodies. It isn't necessary that they are born and develop. They can. Illusion is not quite the right word. They can make themselves appear as solid, real individuals that can interact physically with those who have been born and gone through a development stage. Strictly speaking, they aren't human, because it is a temporary physical container motivated by the spirit. But it has no intellectual or emotional part. It cannot exist for any period of time. It is unstable. But it is possible for one of our children to appear as human, or on any world as whatever they need to be. That ability also allows them to appear as anything they believe is necessary to accomplish what they are trying to accomplish. So, the story of Moses and the burning bush. The burning bush is a story. But, by way of example, the burning bush could have been one of our children attempting to make contact with someone in a way to make them believe that there is more than what they know. We think that one key way to help humanity avoid bouncing off the wall is going to be to make them believe that there is more than they know. If they can open their minds to the possibility, if they can be made to understand that they don't know everything, that the way they think is not the only way, there's never only one way, then they will be willing to accept that there are changes that they need to make in order to elevate. I don't prefer using that term like that anyway. I just don't have the right word. I ask, are you referring to consciousness or energy? No, the word I have trouble with is elevate. It gives one a sense of above and below, and it really isn't as simple as that. I see. It's more of an expanded awareness. Yes, it really is a question of raising the overall vibrational rate of humanity. There are too many who suffer and too few who don't, which in itself would not be as much of a problem if those few weren't the ones who were causing the suffering. I'm sure my brother Samael told you this. Never before in the history of this world have there been so many spirits that are so damaged that when their time comes to pass and they see clearly what their lives have been and the harm they have caused, there have never been so many. It is possible. Remember, we can only predict the future based on probability. One of two things will happen. Either the spiral will continue until all of civilization crashes and ultimately comes back, which would be revolutionary. Or, if humanity can maintain itself until these damaged souls pass, then it is possible at that point to have an evolutionary change which will not be as destructive to life on this world. There is also the issue of the mother spirit of your world, which you call Gaia. Her patience is vast, but not infinite. You already see signs of what's happening. She may take the decision out of your hands. We cannot say one way or the other if that would happen, or what the effect might be if it did. It is necessary to impress upon people the urgency of the situation. We hear what happens on earth through our children, and through those whose voices are loud enough to reach us. We hear the call for help, but it saddens us that there is nothing we can do. Humanity's fate must remain in its own hands. The information we give you is more interference than we would normally entertain. This is not usual for us. We have a particular fondness for humanity. We would not like to see it perish. And so we offer this help to you. I answer, thank you. Is there anything more that I can do collectively? Paul and I work with individuals. Is there more we can do on a larger scale to prevent things like some of the massacres that are being caused by the very damaged souls? Is there anything we could do? Azrael says, there is a human expression. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for life. The work you do is important and valuable, but you are simply handing out fish. If you can teach others to do what you do, and they pass that forward, it produces an expanding wave that could very well reverse the trend. That is probably more advice than I should give you. But I understand how you feel and your desire to help. You have already taken the first steps towards doing this. Stay on that path. Thank you, we will. Are there any last questions from you, Paul? Azrael says to Paul, you had a question you wanted to ask earlier. And Paul, my consultant, said, I did, about Nikola Tesla. Azrael says, we know of him. Paul says, he invented many great things, and he did so without a profit motive. He developed technology to help the human civilization, and he was treated very, very poorly by those in power. Azrael says, that's not uncommon on your world. And Paul says, for the profit motive, and upon his passing, all of his records disappeared quickly within hours. Are there secrets within those records that could help us with our energy issues to provide cleaner energy? Azrael says, not specifically in his notes. While Nikola Tesla was certainly a genius, he was not particularly an old spirit, by the way, simply a brilliant man. The concept that he had to broadcast power would not work. His desire to provide free power was certainly laudable. There are alternatives and solutions to the energy problems that Earth has, but they already have solutions. It is already known what to do. It is a matter of motivating people to do it. As long as the current system, as long as the people who have power retain it, there will be no change. It is unlikely that they can be convinced to give it up. This is what I was referring to before. If they retain power for too long, then Earth has only one future. It is merely a question of how long they will remain. We would never recommend revolution. However, there are changes that can be made. And I'm stretching what I should be telling you. But to begin to unwind the pattern, it is necessary to start at one small place and allow a reverse spiral to begin. This would be the least painful way to evoke change, evolution rather than revolution. We understand that there is great political unrest in your nation, and normally we would never consider becoming involved in such a thing. But there is a time now. There is an opportunity right now to begin a reverse of that trend. There are enough people who are disappointed with the way things are run, not just the disenfranchised. But now is the time for just a few people of good conscience to make themselves available to lead others. If a few people can get themselves elected, they can start the turnaround. Now is the time where those who have been in power for so long that there are people fed up with the system, those are the people who need to run. It won't help you to find other people to put in their place. People themselves must step up and make themselves available. Go back and look at your ancient American history. No one said there needs to be change. You go make change. The individuals themselves took the step up and did what they knew would be difficult and painful to do. To put themselves in a position where the public could scrutinize their every move, but they did it. Those are the kind of people we need to motivate now. You need to put real people into positions where they can affect change. Thank you so much. Are there any last words of advice you would have for us? Azrael says, you are putting yourselves in the very position I just described. It never works out well for our children who are born to Earth. Even if they accomplish what they set out to accomplish, they sacrifice their own lives to do it. You may make it clear that the information you are presenting comes from us. These aren't your ideas. It is difficult to say how much protection that will offer you. If you make yourselves examples of stepping forward, if you make yourselves examples of, we know this is painful, we are going to do it because we believe it's right, others will follow that example. We know you're here for us, and we thank you. We are here to help you. And that's what I think many people don't realize, that you're here to help us. Yes, we will help anybody who asks. It is not necessary to think of us as gods. There are beings in the universe that are old, that have seen much. The type of contact we have here, through Gary, is not something that the average person is ever going to be able to do. They simply cannot tolerate the amount of energy that this involves. But if you ask us a question, we will answer, even if it's only in your dreams. It doesn't have to be a prayer. It doesn't have to be any sort of religious overtone to it. If you shout loud enough, we will hear you. If you ask the right question, we will answer. You have to be open to hearing the answer. I have not told you anything you did not already know. There is nothing we can tell you that mankind already doesn't know. Nothing of any consequence anyway. The answers to the important questions have been inside you all along. You have the courage to look inside and pull them out and work with them. If you dismiss an idea because you don't like it, or because you think it's going to be too painful a path, that's why civilization is in the state it's in. There's no easy way out. There are no simple roads. Only work can accomplish your goal. I understand that. Thank you. It is always our pleasure. And it is our honor to be able to experience this. Do you have anything else you'd like to ask, looking at Paul? More personal questions, but not pertaining specifically to this. We were in a debate about crop circles earlier. Would you describe what those are? He laughs. They're almost entirely human creations. They are? I laugh. Yes, I'm sorry. Well, that's good to know. However, if you were able to develop your natural kinesthetic abilities, you could certainly produce them without using props. Humans don't realize the extent of the abilities they do possess. We don't encourage that sort of development because it's too easily abused, and because most humans don't have the emotional control necessary. Gary faces that issue. The abilities that he has are extraordinary, and he does not develop them out of fear that he isn't emotionally stable enough to control them. That fear is not unfounded. We've been told that it was humans who actually built the pyramids and other ancient structures where the joints are fitted together so precisely like a laser. Is this, he interrupts, don't underestimate the skills of your ancestors. The ideas behind some of these structures might have come from other sources. But the engineering, sorry, I'm running out of time. The engineering and mechanical skills, the ability to produce them, once the idea was evoked, are entirely human. So was it through levitation? Were they able to visualize and levitate? Or was it truly mechanical? Azrael says, such things are possible, but based on your history, it's all just been very clever engineering. There is a lot of knowledge still to be relearned by humanity. Thank you. Of course. Are you pleased? Yes, we're always pleased. We are fascinated, enchanted, excited, and in awe. No. You are every bit as impressive as we are. There is nothing special about us, other than the fact that we are old. Do not be in awe. We are honored that you should come and speak with us, and we will do our best to carry out your words to humanity. We know you will. Thank you. I must go now. We are sorry we have so little time here. And he fades. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. And what you heard was an interview with the Archangel Azrael 3 years ago, winter solstice 2017. In this incredible session with Archangel Azrael, he tells us many things, affirming that the archangels have always been around, helping humanity to thrive. They're often viewed as aliens or extraterrestrials. We humans name them. He also steps forward and strongly suggests that people must rise up against oppressors, as our American founding fathers did. These individuals stood against the establishment, which at the time was the royalty of England. We are now facing the battle of the common people against the long-standing political elite on both sides of the divide. Those whose evil plan has long been to enslave the masses for their own power, control, and fortune. Azrael tells us to look at what the early Americans achieved via revolution, saying that evolution would be the preferred method to enlightenment. However, there are so many in the evil swamp of destruction that the concept of allowing the process of evolution to occur is no longer an option. We must rise up against the negative forces to embrace our power in the light of truth. We must join together as warriors of light to encourage a spiritual revolution and free the people from unscrupulous corruption. Azrael and his kin give us clues as to what we must do. First, we must understand the power of light versus dark. My A-team of energy clearing professionals has long dealt with the dark energies and entities around individuals. However, these past months, we've been clearing the darkness in droves by the millions from around the controlling overlords of our world. It has been an eye-opener to see how insidious the darkness has been and continues to be. These negative energies are often like curses that have been sent to control others, draining their energy and influencing their actions. They can even be passed ancestrally or via past life connections. I've been dealing with these nasty energies for over 30 years and admit that only recently have discovered the ability to cast a broader net to capture and shift these entities on a worldwide basis with my dedicated team of light warriors. In addition to helping people see the reality in the good versus evil war that is raging around us, we all must question and separate from some of our long-standing beliefs. We must think for ourselves and look beyond the false illusions that have been planted in our minds. We must wake up and listen to our own hearts instead of following dictated mandates by the mouthpieces of the oppressors. Turn away from what you've been told to believe in all aspects of your life and investigate for yourselves what is really going on. You may be shocked into a new awakening, which will ultimately help to reverse the tipping point across our globe. I find it interesting that the gentlest of archangels who visited with us, Azrael, is the one who incited the most passion for revolution, to stand up for those who are stuck in mind-controlled illusions. Whether by innocence, ignorance, or indifference, each of us must wake up to what is going on around us and step into the light of truth, honesty, and integrity. We are being given the chance right now to change the path, the trajectory of humanity. If we lose this window of opportunity, we may be facing a major setback for everyone. Azrael joins others of the collective in saying there may be another end result that is out of our control. Mother Gaia may take the decision out of our hands. She has the last say, and she has not been happy with what the evil are doing, nor the complacency of others who sit back and say, "Not my job." It's all of our jobs to help this world while we still can. Let us join together in the light of truth to awaken the power of love, light, and an intense passion for all things goodly and godly. To learn more insights into how you can help humanity reverse the downward spiral of destruction, read the messages in the Chronicles of Hope books. They share important guidelines for bringing the peace we need in our civilization today. They offer recipes for what we can do to be aware, to shift our energy to the positive individually and collectively. You can purchase the books on Amazon or at the chroniclesofhope.net website, where I'm putting their messages out to the world in blogs free of charge. We also welcome you to join our Inspiring Hope community discussions that are held via Zoom on 2 Thursdays each month. You can register at the chroniclesofhope.net website. Together, our mission is to shift humanity's energy as catalysts for positive change. Join the revolution. We can reverse this negative curve. Through the power of ascended prayer, let us send light to those who are fighting on the front lines for our society, our freedom, and our world. We invite you also to join our Lightworker Alliance Solstice Celebration on December 21st at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. You can register at loisherman.com. It's free. Help us shine the light of hope, peace, and love for all of humanity. Until then, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day.